Ruth chapter number 3. On Friday, we left Ruth basically proposing to Boaz. She had followed this elaborate plan that Naomi had laid out, and now she has followed through on that plan, and she has curled up by the feet of Boaz, and when Boaz awakens, she basically says, "Will you marry me? Will you perform the job of the kinsman redeemer?" What a dramatic moment this is for Ruth. What answer will Boaz give? So look, if you would, at verse number 9, where he said, "Who art thou?" Now, that's probably not the answer you want to get, but remember, it's a dark night. There's no night lights. Boaz is half asleep, and so it's a legitimate question. And he says, "Who art thou?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman." And he said, so this is the response of Boaz when he understands what Ruth's question is. He gets it. Okay, Ruth is essentially asking me to marry her. He's wanting me to be that near kinsman. And Boaz is honored by that, as we shall see, and his answer is just such a reflection of his character. I will say this, that the reflection of a person's character is best seen not in the way that he acts, because sometimes when we act, we're doing just that. We're acting. That's not really the real us. We're actors. But it's tough to fake how you react. So reactions are much better indicators of a person's character, of a person's belief system, of what's really in the inside. And so Boaz's reaction in the middle of the night to a question that he never anticipated is reflective of his character. Look at what it says in verse number 10. And he said, "Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich." First thing that Boaz said to Ruth is, "Ruth, you really are honorable. And I've always known that you are honorable from the very first time I met you. The way that you have cared for your mother-in-law, the way that you have worked in the fields, the response that you gave when you were provided food and water and protection." I mean, Ruth has been a consistent testimony of godliness and of character. But Boaz says there's no better indication of it than right now. Because all at once, Boaz understands what's happening. Ruth wants to honor her dead husband. She wants to honor the legacy of their family line. She wants to follow the Bible. She wants to participate in the prerogative of the kinsman redeemer. And Boaz gets all this. And Ruth, you are to be honored because you're not making a choice based upon what you could get or necessarily even what you want. Not to say that Ruth didn't want to marry Boaz in a romantic way, but we don't know that. What Boaz says is, Ruth, you could have chased any young man, rich or poor. So that tells me a couple things. I think, first of all, the implication is Ruth was no doubt beautiful as a young woman. And Ruth probably could have had her pick of any number of young men that would have married her. And yet Ruth didn't even consider that. Her consideration was, I want God's choice. I want the person to be my husband who is the one that meets all the biblical criteria. What a great example that would be for every young lady today. What a great example that would be for every young man today, to make up his mind, to make up her mind that I want the person whom God chooses. I think the other implication of the passage is that Boaz is probably considerably older than Ruth. Now, I know to our modern day sensibilities, we kind of look at that as, ooh, But back in Bible days, that was not uncommon. So Boaz calls her daughter. He is a kinsman of Elimelech, the father-in-law of Ruth. The point is, Ruth is not basing her decision on trite and superficial criteria, but she really wants the person who can meet the biblical criteria, care for her and her mother-in-law. This is a wonderful gesture of goodness on the part of Ruth. Watch verse 11. And now, my daughter, fear not, for I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. So basically what Boaz said to Ruth is, Ruth, I accept your proposal with this caveat. I accept your proposal, but that's always a difficult thing, right? What's the catch? So I think what Boaz says immediately is, Ruth, I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I accept. There's nothing I would rather do than to marry you, but I need to pursue this matter further because there is somebody who is a nearer kinsman to Elimelech and really thereby to Mahlon, Ruth's husband, than I. And I need to settle that legal matter, give that other person the prerogative to be the kinsman redeemer before me. So what does that tell me? That tells me that Boaz wants to marry Ruth. He's been thinking about it because he already knows, well, I am a kinsman redeemer, but there is somebody closer. And he's already thought about all this in his mind. And now that Ruth has expressed her desire, now that Ruth has expressed her, asked her question, Boaz is free to pursue this. No doubt Boaz was thinking against hope. You know, she would never want to marry me. She would never. She's beautiful. I know I'm a kinsman redeemer. I know it's a possibility, but all of that is clear now. The intention of Ruth is clear. The intention of Boaz is clear. Now all that has to happen is they've got to find out who that other guy is, and they've got to make sure that that's going to work. So good news, yes. Potential bad news, absolutely. Because all of this can come to a crashing halt. And Ruth has no clue who this other guy is or how it's going to turn out. But we're going to have to find out that part next episode. So we're going to quit for today. Appreciate you joining us. We'll be right back here in this very spot throughout the week, at least, probably throughout the week. And so I hope you'll join us. Have a great day in the Lord. God bless you, my friends.